I want to welcome all of you to our Mail Growth Incentive Workshop. I'm Dave Rosendahl, president of Mindfire, and as I mentioned a moment ago, I'm going to be your moderator today. So whether you're the mail owner, meaning you're sending mail for your company, or you're a mail service provider helping your clients with that mail, today's workshop is going to give you practical, actionable insights. And I've got a panel of experts here that are going to walk you through everything you need to know, from registering in the BCG to claiming the credits and all the other stuff that you need to know, some lessons learned that you need to keep in mind. And we're going to leave plenty of time for Q&A, all right? So we want to make sure that this is interactive and that you're selfish, so to speak, in asking the questions that are important to you. Now, today is actually the 6th event in this series. I'm curious, who is here for the first time? You can see some of the prior events here on the screen, but who's here for the first time? Drop a 1 in the chat if this is your first time with us. How many of you are first-timers here? Drop a 1 in the chat. Rhonda, Jam's your first time. Okay, Tim. Okay, cool. We've got a good number of first-timers here. If you missed any of these sessions, we had the congressman on, we've had Marie, we've had a number of folks here walking us through the latest with USPS and direct mail. And if you want these sessions here, stay to the end. My team's going to give you a resource where you can grab all of these and stay up to date with the information that we've shared so far. All right, so stay to the end and you will get that. Now let me introduce our 3 experts here. If you look at your screen, and I'm going to bring him on stage in just a moment, I'm excited to welcome Glenn Swires, Director of Marketing Integration with the Imagine Group. This is Glenn's first time in one of these events with us in Silvamo. So Glenn, thank you for spending your time with us. He brings deep expertise working with top national brands across print and mail and in marketing, and his experience as a partner in his family's printing business, also working at Walt Disney and other large organizations, brings a perspective to today's conversation that I think is going to be very helpful for you. I've enjoyed getting to know him. He's got some behind-the-scenes look at how the Mail Growth Incentive has helped him and helped his clients, and I think you're going to find a lot of value in that. He is a USPS Certified Mail Design Professional. He was named 2018 USPS PCC Industry Member of the Year, and he serves on several committees, including MTAC leadership, and is just very involved in our industry. Glenn, thank you for being here with us today. You ready for your first time with us all?
I am ready to go. Let's do it.
All right, thank you. And someone who is becoming a regular on these sessions, Chris Lean, welcome back. He is the Vice President of Postal Affairs at BCC Software and the Chairman of the National Postal Forum. And as he is a longtime advocate for mail service providers, for direct mail, for this industry, and he's helped countless organizations like yours navigate postal regulations while maximizing the incentives and the promotions that are available. There are few people in the industry as knowledgeable as Chris, and so I think we are so lucky to be able to have someone with his depth of experience on these events. So Chris, welcome back. Thank you for being here. Are you ready today?
Absolutely, absolutely. And thank you for the kind words, Dave. I'm excited to get into this and share the latest information.
Awesome. And finally, the person behind the entire webinar series. This is AJ. She's sales manager with Silvamo. She's got about 19 years in the paper industry across logistics, marketing, sales, and she's super passionate about helping customers figure out how to communicate and get their message to market most effectively. One of the things that stands out about AJ is she loves educating clients about the industry, and that's actually why we are here together today. Something around maybe 18 months ago, 24 months ago, AJ and I had a small conversation which was the spark that led to the series. So we have her and Silvamo to thank for pulling us all together. AJ, thank you for everything you're doing. You ready to get started?
Yes, let's go. Thanks for leading the charge. And Chris and Glenn, thanks so much for participating to help educate our customers on how to take advantage of this incentive.
Awesome. All right, folks, as I mentioned, we've got many people behind the scenes. We've got Brenda Manos with USPS. We've got Kendra and Tammy with BC, and they're going to be answering your questions as we go through this, okay? If you open up the chat right now, if you just dropped into the room, the chat here in Zoom is where you can talk to all of us. You can see your friends and maybe make some new ones there. The Q&A button specifically, find that on your screen. That is where you're going to ask your questions. And when you click that button, take a look and see if your question's already there. Because if it is, you can upvote it and it's going to bubble to the top of the list, okay? So take a look there in the Q&A. That's what we're going to be using when we get into that portion of today's workshop to make sure that we are getting to exactly what's on your mind. Now, I'm about to get started here, but I got a question for all of you. Take a look at the screen. I want everybody to look at the screen right now. Carissa, make sure this is on the screen for everyone. I want you to drop in the chat. What do you see here? Is this glass half full or is it half empty? I want to see there in the chat. Half full? Half full, says Lisa. Where are my optimists? It's a shot glass? Yeah, maybe it is. Here's why I have this on the screen, folks. It's true. I know it's true that we're facing challenges today. That's clear, right? As an industry. Yes, postage costs continue to go up. Yes, our budgets are being scrutinized at every turn. But here's what else is true. The Postal Service is listening. Your voices are being heard through events like this. When they see 2,500 of you having gathered in the last 2 or 3 conversations that we've had, just like this one today, and they see that we're together trying to figure out solutions for some of the challenges that we face, they're looking to us not to dwell on those problems. Certainly those problems are there, but they want us to help create solutions. You're going to hear that from Chris. You're going to hear that from Glenn today. They are listening. But we do stand at a crossroads. I'm not going to sugarcoat it. We can focus on what's difficult right now, or we can look at what's possible. We can fixate on the price of postage and all of those things, or we can elevate our thinking to the purpose of the mail that we create. That's a phrase I stole from Chris Lean, right? We can think about the price of postage, or we can focus on the purpose of the mail. So we can look at this glass as half empty, or we can look at it as half full. One of the things that Chris said in the last session, it's not about volume, it's about value, meaning it's about the value of the mail, the value of the marketing that you as an organization are doing, or that you're doing with your customer or for your customer, all right? I believe that when physical meets digital, we see engagement rates go up. These aren't just statistics. These are opportunities waiting for bold people like you to seize them. I want to say to the printers who are here in the room, don't let your competitors be the ones telling your clients about the savings that we're about to talk about here. Imagine what happens if that is the case. Mail owners, meaning you're doing marketing for your organization, don't let your competitors gain the advantage. They shouldn't be acquiring customers at a lower cost than you, right? You don't want that. Be the leader, be the innovator, and lean into helping us figure out solutions to some of the problems that this industry has. I think that after this session, coming out of this session, write it down right now, look at the mail that you're already producing. Look at what you're already doing. I bet you're going to find discounts hiding in plain sight, okay? I don't think the future of mail is written in stone. It's written by us as a group here together, one session at a time like this. And so here's what I want to know. As we enter the event today, will you help us build a more vibrant, more valuable mailing industry? Are you in? Drop a yes in the chat if you're in. I want to know who's in, who's looking at this glass half full. Give me a yes. Give me a yes there in the chat. I'm grateful to have a glass to hold anything said. I think my friend Ruben, are you in? It's the spirit of looking at this glass as half full that's going to drive us to succeed, folks. Not just today, but in all of the tomorrows that follow from here. Yes, I see a lot of the yeses coming in. Fantastic. Thank you, folks. So here's the plan for today. Keep those yeses coming in. I'm going to have Chris Lean give us a Postal State of the Union, and AJ is going to tag along, coming up right behind him on that, and give us an exciting update on how Silvamo is supporting the postal system. And then I'm going to bring Glenn to do the step-by-step walkthrough of the Business Customer Gateway for the Mail Growth Incentive. This is the hands-on portion of today's event. And then Chris is going to come back and cover the implementation of this Mail Growth Incentive in your mailing software. And then we're going to get to Q&A. All right? So with that, let's dive in. Chris, last week,
Yes.
you and I were at USPS headquarters, and Glenn was there as well. And
Right.
there was a lot of valuable information that was shared. So I want you to take everybody inside the room there. What did you learn? What did we learn? And give us a sense for the state of the Postal Union.
Absolutely. And thank you. And by the way, congratulations, Dave. So he is one of the newest members of MTAC, representing the software community with that at MTAC, because that's what we do there. It's all about a community, all about communicating with the Postal Service and helping our postal partners understand what's going on with the industry. If we can go to the next slide, let me talk about some of the exciting stuff that we heard there. I don't know if that's, there it goes. All right. So a lot of different information is shared at MTAC. And one of the things that caught my attention right off the bat is how the Postal Service is using data and information to help better inform people. They came out with this MDN. This is the Mail Piece Delivery Notification. The informed delivery, which continues to expand all across the country, which is why the informed delivery add-on for the promotions is such an important piece for you to take a look at. But this is continuing to be enhanced. The Postal Service now has enough information, data, and geofencing so they can notify to you when the mail is in the mailbox. Folks, that is game-changing. That's huge. Informed delivery was great to be able to tell you what was coming in your mailbox that day, but now to know precisely when that mail moment happened, when that piece is in the mailbox, when that package has arrived, that's huge, because now we can start to create triggered events. And remember, omni-channel, all the things we've been talking about, physical, digital. It's all about priming the mailbox and building anticipation of arrival. Now we have that, and already 500,000 people are opting into this right off the bat because they see the value in this. They see the value in the mail piece. And again, back to the whole point, not volume, it's about value. And we're seeing the Postal Service responding with this because this is something that we've been waiting for a while. And I'm so excited it's here.
That's very cool. This is available now?
Available now. Yep,
Okay.
yep. And
Awesome.
talk about, again, attribution. We finally have the attribution of the mail piece that we've been wanting all this time. It's here today, folks. And that's how we add the value to it. Next slide. And yes, there's some down news, right? So it's a little bit of both. And I'm really glad that you showed the glass because you can look at this two different ways.
Yep.
Now, this is the pricing guidance from the Postal Service is what we may see in July of this year. And yes, it's a very large number. 11.6% is the potential price increase that the Postal Service could ask for. They may not ask for all of that. We have to wait and see what they file. We expect that the July price change to be filed sometime around April 10th, certainly before the National Postal Forum. Hang on that point for a moment. But I want you to pay attention to the different colors in the graph. The bottom is the CPI, Consumer Price Index urban rate. We've been seeing this as part of our postage since 2006. Then you add on what the Postal Regulatory Commission granted the Postal Service back earlier as what are called adders, density adder and retirement adder. And then there's this gray part, which is the additional cap, price cap that the Postal Service has or pricing authority based on promotions and growth incentives from the prior year, so incentives and promotions. Now, that's existed for a while, and you can see going back to January of 2023, the Postal Service had that. Here's the difference between, again, the glass half, glass full. The reason that gray part is 4.3% is because promotions and the incentives have been so successful last year. So it's a little bit of a balance, right? We want these promotions and incentives, not just because they help to lower the postage, but because they add value to the piece. The Postal Service was absolutely not expecting it to be as successful as it was last year. Could that be part of the pricing authority? We have to wait and see what they're going to do in April. But this is the guidance that they're giving forward. But again, this is where we need the industry to step forward, take advantage of the growth incentives and the promotions, because that's one tool to mitigate postage. But more importantly, it's how you can help to be part of the purpose of the piece as you go forward with it.
Chris, I'm sure there's some people that are pulling out their phones right now and taking snapshots of this to be able to show it to others or to send it out to other clients. If you want this deck, folks, let us know in the chat. We'll make sure to get that over to you. That includes this information that Chris is sharing as well as everything else that we're going to be covering. Chris, what else did we hear?
We heard really exciting news about what potentially is for 2026. And again, I have to say potential because the Postal Regulatory Commission does have to approve this, but we're expecting this to be part of that filing in April. So the Postal Service for 2026 now, continuing on, is going to continue to leverage things like tactile, sensory, interactive, the integrated technology, continuous contact, first-class mail advertising. We're seeing that work. It worked great last year. It's continued to work this year. They're going to continue to have those add-ons of informed delivery and sustainability. But I want to draw your attention to the new on the right there, the catalog insights. Some of you may be doing catalog or claiming that 0.5% incentive on a catalog right now on your postage statement. The Postal Service is going to transform the incentive into a promotion. And you might think that wasn't that kind of the same thing? Not technically, no. It falls under different requirements for the Postal Service and the Regulatory Commission. Here's the big game changer that we heard last week. This catalog promotion could be double-digit in discounts for mailers that are sending out a catalog. And again, the definition of a catalog from the Postal Service is 12 pages bound together with a list of different items for sale. Folks, that is a pretty open definition with it. And I'm sure a lot of you are going to have to take a look, and I urge you to look at those pieces you're doing and see, can I get that into a catalog? Can I add a piece to it? Can I bind it a certain way? Can I get it into that clarification? Because beginning in October of this year, again, pending PRC approval, beginning in October this year and for 9 months thereafter, you could be looking at 10 to 12% discount off of a catalog. That's huge. That is huge. The incentive that currently exists today would go away in July, so we got a little bit of a period of time between the transition from a catalog incentive to a catalog promotion, but please continue to check the box on the postage statement to let the Postal Service know that's a catalog. This is how they're measuring. And a little bit back to your comment, Dave, the Postal Service is asking for us to respond. When we say that price changes cause the elasticity or inelasticity of the mail, this is the Postal Service basically saying, show us, prove it to us.
That's right.
And we can adjust accordingly.
Yeah, that's right. I want to ask the audience here, informal poll, how many of you do catalogs? Just drop the word catalog there in the chat just so we can see it. I'm curious how many of you do. I have been encouraging clients since we heard this news last week to rethink some of the mail that they have, and maybe could they figure out how to make it into a catalog to be able to take advantage of this 10%. Chris, what else do we hear here in terms of what's coming down the pike for us?
Big changes. I've been in this mailing industry for over 30 years, and we've seen changes in year over year, actually twice a year now with some of the things that are going. But I have to tell you, what is being planned for January is probably the biggest change to pre-sort software since 1997, when we had reclassification with that. And again, it's a balance of things. This is all about bringing the Delivering for America plan to full fruition, which is the big goal from Postmaster General Louis DeJoy before he hands that over to the next PMG, and I'm sure you all saw that with it. They're going to extend marketing mail. They're going to improve those promotions that I talked about in the incentives. They're going to add first-class mail pallets as well. But then they're going to change the network a little bit. They're going to get rid of the NDC discounts. They're going to be focusing more on SCFs to try and get the mail entered into that. They're removing the bound printed matter and moving that into a marketing mail expansion with it and adjusting a few things. And potentially, it's not on the slide here, but we're watching it closely, we could potentially see zone rated pricing for marketing mail. So periodicals and marketing mail could be priced effectively the same in the concept with it. Why is that impactful? Because it means that now we as an industry that are helping to induct mail more effectively into the Postal Service would get a discount that's commensurate with the amount of effort and cost that it takes for us to get it to the right entry point.
Yep.
So many changes that are going on right now, so much that's being planned, so much of an opportunity. It really is. This is that glass half full opportunity here, folks. We can take advantage of these changes and look for new workshare discounts with that as we're shaping the software and the technology to be able to support the enhanced postal delivery network.
Yeah, one of the things that you're probably doing, folks, is taking notes, just like I am here as Chris is sharing the wealth here. Again, if you want the slides or the recording so you can go back and listen to all of this, I see questions coming in right now for you, Chris. Let us know. We're happy to get it over to you. Now, Chris, since there's a lot of questions going on in the industry and how is this impacting us? We heard the news in the last event about Lewis and all this other stuff that's going on. But from your point of view now, pivoting to National Postal Forum, what are you seeing in terms of industry engagement at this critical juncture that we're in?
Like a lot of us, we wear many hats these days. And so for me to talk about MPF, I need to put this one on. So the National Postal Forum, the National Postal Forum is in Nashville, Tennessee this year, folks. It's in Music City. And I have to tell you, I was on a board briefing yesterday. We have the largest registration in over a decade, absolutely hands down. Industry exhibitors, even the Postal Service coming. This is going to be huge. The exhibit hall has dozens of new exhibitors. These are first-time companies that are coming into our space because they see the opportunity with it. A third of the attendees are first-time attendees. Maybe it'll be your first time at the National Postal Forum. And of course, we're going to hear the latest from Postmaster General Louis DeJoy, possibly his last presentation or address to the mailing industry at MPF. So super important that you're there. Louis is PMG Unleashed. Yep. That's what we heard last week, Dave. And it's actually funny because I think somebody in the back said, "What weren't you?" He's not a candid. He's not a soft-spoken guy. And I'm fully expecting him to just lay it all out there. This is the vision. This is where he's going. And the best part about NPF is not just the education that you're getting with a lot of new speakers too, by the way, first-time speakers there, but it's the fun, it's the connection, it's the networks. So please, if you can only go to one show this year, MPF has to be it. You got to go to the National Postal Forum, check out the exhibit hall, come and see the new technology, go to the classes, and make sure you find me so you can do some line dancing with me throughout there as well. We're going to have some pretty cool events, so stay tuned on that. Visit npf.org and take a look and see us in Nashville. Yeehaw!
Speaking of first-time exhibitors, AJ, I think this is Silvamo's first time exhibiting. Is that right?
Yes, this is my first time, Silvamo's first time. We will be at booth 451, so please stop by and say hello or schedule some time for a meeting just to get to know who we are and what we do.
I'm curious who else is going. Suzanne, if you could get the poll ready here. I'd love to know who else is going to NPF. Suzanne's going to bring up a poll here. I'd love for you all to take a moment here. I'm going to give you 30 seconds to answer this. We want to know who's going to be there and who are the new friends that we will make here in person. Yeah, I know I poked one at this last time, but the relevance of 451. I'm curious if anybody knows what came to my mind when I heard 451 and Silvamo being a paper company. Drop that little nerd tidbit there in the chat for me if you know what I'm referring to. A few more seconds here. Come on, get out and vote, folks. Yeah, there we go. Ray Bradbury. That's exactly it, Matt. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. All right, Suzanne, roll the results here. And let's take a look at what our colleagues are intending to do here. I'm going to bring this down a little bit. We've got 37% saying yes. We've got 43% saying no, and 21% saying still undecided. If you're undecided, let us know why, and maybe we can do something to help you. Thank you, Suzanne. Let's bring that down. And I want to go next to you, AJ, as we've heard Chris talk about the State of the Union here. In my preamble, I told everybody we should look at the industry and the opportunities we have and look at that glass as half full. In that spirit, I'd love for you to share the Sylvamo Intelligent Paper idea, because I believe that it directly supports where the industry is right now, building on what Chris just shared. So tell us about Intelligent Paper.
Yeah, Dave, I'm super excited to talk about this. We've talked a lot today already about the purpose of the mail and the value of the mail. And Sylvamo's Intelligent Paper can help you with that. So we've partnered with Mindfire, who is the industry leader in this. And basically, the technology integrates personalized QR codes and personalized URLs to really track the engagement of your piece of mail. When the recipient gets the mail, you will know exactly who responded, when they responded, and what actions they took. So you get that real-time visibility into your campaign performance. You can get that individual level response tracking and the ability to optimize campaigns based on actual data. When we talk to customers, when we talk to our end users, sometimes we find that they just find it really hard to justify trying a new campaign. And with this technology and this partnership, we can help with that. So it just helps justify a larger spend and helps justify the value of mail. All of us on this call believe in it, and it's our way of not just being a paper manufacturer and providing a good product to print on, but really helping with some of the technology to help prove it out.
So in a nutshell, AJ, when you use Sylvamo Paper for your direct mail, you get Mindfire omni-channel tracking technology along with it. Is that right? All right. I want to show you folks what AJ is talking about, and this gets to attribution, which is an important point that I know Chris is super passionate about. Look at the screen right now, folks. Look at the screen. So whether you're a printer or you're a brand, a mail owner, what matters most at the end of the day is how well your mail performs, just like AJ said. But most direct mail is difficult to measure, right? It's not on equal footing with digital marketing where you can track clicks and all of this stuff, right? It's a little off in terms of how easy it is to measure. That's what Sylvamo's Intelligent Paper initiative solves. When you add this cutting edge technology, you're going to get data like what you see here on the screen. Okay, you're going to see the number of mail pieces that were sent. You're going to see right in one dashboard view your informed delivery stats. You're going to see how many responses your mail is getting, both through the personalized URL and the personalized QR code. You're going to see the total number of leads that your mail is generating. And then for some, you're going to see over here on the right-hand column, you're going to see how many sales were generated, how much in revenue was generated from this mail, all right? Now, there's a full omni-channel technology behind this that makes these results happen, but that's the outcome. AJ, what is the advantage for the printers that are here with us? What are we hearing?
Yeah, so it's a huge value proposition for you guys to take to your customers. It's something that we're offering. Of course, we want you to use our paper for this, and it's no additional cost to you. So the printers, please bring us some of your opportunities that you think might be a good fit.
And for the mail owner, so the end customer, using our internal lingo here? What do they
Yeah,
get?
so we can provide with the technology that data to take the ROI to your leadership to just prove the effectiveness of direct mail.
And briefly here, the qualification criteria. AJ, what are you looking for?
Yeah, so we're running a pilot right now, and really what we're looking for are a couple of end users, 5 or so, with a minimum run size of 350,000 pieces. And that's really just so we can get enough data to really provide you the information you need. Of course, you're going to need to use a printer who has this technology or wants to become a partner with Mindfire. So we have to use the right printer for this. And of course, we want it on our paper. But most importantly, we don't need all the individual data. We just need the high level data so that we can take that and create case studies so that we can continue to tell the story on the effectiveness of mail.
Does everyone get what AJ is saying, folks? Do you understand? If you have any questions, let us know there in the chat. AJ, were you going to add something onto that?
Yeah, I will reach out after this. For those interested, I think Suzanne's going to put a poll up there, but I'll reach out and we can start that conversation on an individual basis to find out what brands or mail owners might have an opportunity.
So if you have questions, let us know in the chat. This is a significant opportunity, folks, for you to be able to measure your mail, to make it measurable. Suzanne, let's go ahead and roll the poll here. One more poll, and then I'm going to bring Glenn up on stage and get into the BCG. I'm going to give you 30 seconds, folks, again, give you the opportunity here. If you want to learn more about this, if you want to take advantage of this opportunity, look at the screen, answer the poll. You've got about 15 more seconds here. I want to know how many of you are interested. AJ and I have been having conversations with folks. We've probably got, 40 or 50 companies in the queue right now. And so we want to select you if you're the right fit for this pilot. All right, Suzanne, 3, 2, 1, boom. All right, let's share the results. What do we got here? Go ahead and share that. Thank you, Suzanne. We've got 42, almost half saying yes, 38 maybe later, and 20 not interested. If you're not interested, I'm curious how this doesn't fit for you. Let us know there in the chat. That's valuable information. One thing you didn't mention, AJ, what's the other advantage here with your paper?
Yeah, so all of our Silvamo paper, all of our brands have been pre-approved for that sustainability add-on. So, we learned 1 in 3 pieces of direct mail is on component is on Silvamo paper. So if you're not taking advantage of this 1%, you're missing out. I will put in the chat step-by-step guide. One thing you have to have is a very specific service request number. So I'll include that and you can just take a look, but make sure you're using that with the other promotions.
Fantastic. Thank you, AJ. I'm going to bring her back in just a moment, but now I'm going to switch over to Glenn. We're going to get into the brass tacks of the mail growth incentives. Roll up your sleeves, folks. Let's get ready to get tactical here. But I want to start first with a definition of the mail growth incentive as we turn the corner here. All right, I want to make sure everybody understands what we're talking about. The mail growth incentive is a USPS program that rewards the mail owner, we'll talk more about that in a moment, with a 30% postage credit when they increase their qualifying mail volume compared to the previous year, okay? To participate, the mail owner has to mail at least 1 million pieces annually, and you or they can use those earned credits on future mailings of the same mail class, okay? That's the core definition. If you have questions about that, please drop them into the Q&A because we will make sure to answer those. We have one more poll here because it's going to help Glenn and Chris fine-tune this walkthrough that we're about to do here. I've got 2 basic questions for you. I want to know your organization type here in the room so we can be thinking as we're going through this about your specific needs. And then I also want to know what is your role within that organization. And again, your answers to this are going to help Glenn and then Chris really fine-tune the instruction that we're about to give you. Suzanne, go ahead and roll the poll. We want to know, some of you here are with the USPS team. Some of you here are mail owners, meaning you're the brand or the end customer that's sending mail to your customers or prospects. Some of you are the mail service provider, so you could be a printer, or you might be an agency. That's the option there on the right of the screen, also here on in your poll. And then within the organization, what do? Are you in marketing? Are you a postal data specialist? You work with the data? Are you in sales? Or are you postal affairs? I'm going to leave this up for another 10 seconds, and then I want to see what this looks like. And Glenn, I'm going to come over to you in just a moment here. So 5, 4, 3, 2, come on, guys. I still see you voting. Let's leave it up another second. I got 53% participation. All right, Sue, let's go ahead and close it up. What do we got here? Okay, perfect. So Glenn and Chris, take note here. The vast majority, mail services provider, so mail service provider, followed by, let's see, the mail owner, it looks like, which is good. Within the mail service provider, what are you? Postal data specialist and something else. Interesting. Tell us in the chat what the something else is. That's very helpful. All right. Thank you, Suzanne, for rolling that. Let's keep that in mind, Glenn and Chris, as we get in here. Chris, I'm going to bring up this next visual here. This is one of my favorites. You and me, along with Glenn, last week were at USPS headquarters, as mentioned earlier, and we got access to data about the mail growth incentive that's hot off the press, so to speak. What did we learn? Tell us what we're seeing here.
So what we saw on this, and again, I touched on this earlier, is the wildly successful response from the industry on this mail growth incentive. So a couple of things on this that I want to underscore. First of all, this is the first time the Postal Service has ever done anything like this at all, right? They've never done an incentive where you could get postage credits for a future mailing. That's brand new. Up to this point, it's always been a discount off of the postage at the time of mailing. And I want to be clear on that for all of our listeners, because I think there's sometimes confusion. The promotions are about discounts off of postage at the mailing. That's available. Okay, so if you're a mail service provider, mail owner, man, you got to be leveraging those because it's 3%, 4%, up to 6%, maybe 12%, right? As I talked about with the catalog stuff. That's a promotion. Incentives are all about driving behavior from the industry. In this case, it was about growing mail volume. So I really want to draw your attention to the number at the bottom left corner on this screen. 5.6 billion pieces. These are net new pieces that were put in the mail stream. And isn't that what we all want? Don't
Yep.
we want more mail volume coming in? And not just, spray and pray mail volume, right? Where it's just going in, but really purposeful pieces that are going in. That's what we saw with this. So we saw a huge response from the industry with it. Those 5.6 billion pieces created postage credits that can then be spent on future mailings. So it's just like a frequent flyer program. You build up credits in a particular area, and then those credits are earned, they're applied, and then they're spent. So that's what generated. And the 1,300, Dave and Glenn, that was just that response from it, per our postal partners, there could be thousands more mail owners that could be participating in this. So for you mail service providers out there, and I know that's the majority of the folks that are on this webinar today, that's where we together as the industry need to come together and help our customers understand this incentive program, get registered in it, and start getting the credits for future mailings. Because if you're the one that brought them to the dance, they're probably going to be line dancing with you in Nashville in just 37 days.
Yeah.
Sorry, another shameless plug. But you can, and then I also like the year-over-year volume change too, Dave, on the right, and Glenn. Look at the difference between the ones that did something and the ones that didn't.
Yep.
Yeah, I think that's a great call out, Chris, that when you look on that right side, there's no doubt that the people that were involved, either they thought that they were going to get something, or once they got a taste of that incentive, they hit it out of the park.
Yep.
Yep.
I want to underscore what Chris just said, folks. My printer friends, listen, please. What Chris is saying here is that we're hearing there's likely around 5,000 organizations. They're printing with many of you here, right? There's a group of those, about 75% of that 5,000 that are eligible for this 30%.
Yep.
But they're not taking advantage of it. That's your fault. I'm going to be the bad guy here. That's your fault. And you need to make sure that they hear about this before the competitor knocks on their door.
Yeah.
What's going to happen, do you think, if a competitor walks in and tells them, look, you could be getting a 30% credit and you didn't tell them? Eesh, I don't want to be in that room when that meeting happens. All right, so this is my warning to you. You want to make sure to be listening right now because this is super important. Along with the data that we just saw, USPS has also released a number of success stories that you can see here with grocery, financial, and industrial equipment companies. So there's data that you can start sharing with your customers to get them excited about this. AJ, I know Sylvamo is also supporting this initiative, this mission of driving mail growth. How is Sylvamo joining in this movement here?
Yeah, I think these case studies are great. One thing they're missing is ROI, and that really is where the intelligent paper with the MindFire technology can really help take this data to another level, and that's where we're trying to help.
That makes sense, AJ. Thank you. All right, so now Glenn, heard from you just a second ago, but I'm going to turn the floor over to you. Let's go a step deeper now into the mail growth incentive. Tell us about how it applies to first-class mail and marketing mail, and let's walk through all of this in detail.
Great. Yeah, thanks so much. Yeah, let's get into some of the details. Sometimes the devil's in the details. In this case here, the cash is in the details. First thing you need to know is there's three important principles that are on the screen. There's a concept called a baseline period, a registration period, and the actual performance period. And the reason why I'm hitting this hard is I've had some customers that unfortunately they tried to go this alone and they struggled, and one of them missed the registration period. Someone didn't know. So kudos to you for being here on a Friday learning about this, because I have clients that had potential of $250,000 incentives here. Base period. Post office, if you've been around at all with postal, you understand the concept of a fiscal year. October 1st through September 30th is the fiscal year for the post office. So that's what they use in order to establish what your baseline is. So when you're saying, did I mail more than last year? It's all based on the fiscal year of the post office. Really quick, because we need to lock some things in to do the math, there is a registration period. So the registration period is currently open. You have till May 30th to work this all out. And I would encourage you, and as you see on these slides coming up, this is not something you're going to do in an afternoon. There is going to take some time. So don't wait till the last minute. Last but not least, you know about the dates as far as when we're going to earn it. Who can do this? There's a lot of you that are MSPs. This is where you need to come alongside the mail owners, because the post office considers this a mail owner incentive. So they're not going to allow you to do all of this work on their behalf, but you can come alongside, do screen sharing, et cetera. So who can register? Mail owners, minimum volume. Dave, you already mentioned looking for 1 million pieces. Is that the right number? We're working on that for the future. But as Chris said, you have to start somewhere. If you are a MSP that just so happens to also own mail, feel free to go ahead and sign up. And I would encourage you to sign up anyway to go through the process. The last one on this list on the left-hand side, I think, is important to dig into. There are some enterprises that are huge, and you might have multiple lines of businesses within it. Maybe you're a grocery store conglomerate and you have multiple brands or banners. You can segment those out. Or maybe you're a large financial institution and you see some of the areas of your mail are going down, but prospect mailing's going up. You can segment out your credit card prospect mailing from, let's say, your letter mail that's going out for statements. So those are the details. Dave, was that clear?
Yeah, I think so. I feel like I rushed you a little bit, though, right here on the dates. Let's do that one more time here at the bottom.
No, yeah, no worries, because the time when you're going to be earning your credits, and the way I look at it is almost like that gift card. The time that I'm actually putting money into that is the calendar year. So that's what we're used to working with.
Yep.
In my perfect world, I wish both these numbers matched, and we'll look at that going forward. But for 2025, your baseline period is the fiscal year, but your earning period or your performance period is the calendar year for 2025.
Yep. If you have questions, folks, please be selfish and ask your questions. There's no dumb questions. In our last event, we had a lot of different types of organizations. In this workshop today, we're getting hands-on. We're getting into the tactical stuff that you need to know. And we want to make sure that we're answering all of those how-to questions. Something that's going to help us here as we continue through the BCG, the Business Customer Gateway. I'm going to ask you, Suze, to get the poll ready here in a few seconds. I want to know, what is your organization's approximate annual mail volume? That's going to help us understand who here is in the room. You heard Glenn say that this million mark, that's what we're starting with, right? But Glenn and Chris and the others that are advocating on your behalf, we're looking at how can that number change. Could it come down a little bit? What kinds of things could we do to change that? Suzanne, go ahead and roll the poll. What is your annual mail volume here, folks? Let's take a look. For the mail service providers, your questions there on the top. Those are the printers here. What are you doing? Total. And then for the mail owners, again, that's the kind of industry lingo for the end customer, the brand, the one engaging directly with the consumer, if you will. What's your approximate annual mail volume? I want to try to get to at least 50% participation here. I want you guys to wake up. Let's go. Bob Rosser, where are you? I saw Bob was in here earlier. Yep, Bob is here. I see Clint is here. Darren, Daryl, David, Arthur, Armando, Alan. Come on, y'all. Let's get out here and vote. We got a few more here that need to give us some information here. This is really interesting. So mail service providers, you're at the top, and the mail owners, you are at the bottom. All right, Suzanne, let's go ahead and close that up, and let's share those results here. I think this is interesting for everyone to see. Glenn, AJ, Chris, interesting here. For the mail service providers, the majority are doing 10 million plus. Good. And for the mail owners, the majority, it looks like it's tied. We've got less than 1 million, 1 to 2 million pieces a year, and then 10 million plus. That's good to know. That's very helpful. All right, so let's keep that in mind, Glenn. Suzanne, thank you. Let's pull that down. Glenn, now let's walk through, what do we do in the BCG?
Yeah, no, great. And then one real quick thing, that means 85% of you on here potentially are eligible for this. So now it really got to be important because you can pay attention to this.
Yep.
If you've already have a BCG account, this is going to look very familiar with you. You're going to come in here, but let's assume you haven't. You're going to go ahead and click on the sign up. That's going to take you to that next screen, which is new. The post office now is requiring you to cough up an email address, and that's going to become your username. So once you put that in, you're going to hit submit. The clock starts. You're going to get an email. No more just making up an email address. You're going to get that in your inbox within 10 minutes. You're going to go ahead and go to your inbox, and this is an example of the one that you're going to see. You'll click where it says click here to validate your email. That allows you then to go to the next step of the process. I'm going to take a big pause here. This is probably the #1 place that a mail owner and frankly, a lot of mail service providers make a mistake. If you go ahead and put in an address and it doesn't exactly match, which most people don't, they don't even know that there's a suite number or there's another element to their address, it's going to create a brand new customer ID number. Before you go to this step, I would encourage the mail owners to reach out to your mail service providers, or you mail service providers here, provide the CRID that you're using on their mail to the mail service providers to use to set this up. Because on the next screen, I did a little pop-up here, which actually is going to say, all right, customer identifier. Now, all I'm asking for is the CRID. Why are you going so deep on this, Glenn? Worked with a client yesterday. When we went through this process, they had 1,287 CRIDs
My
associated
gosh.
with their organization.
Seriously? Wow.
Every single employee within their enterprise, when they logged in, created a brand new CRID. But I digress. So on the next screen, after I gone ahead and coughed up my CRID, it's going to let me in. And it's all right, awesome. Actually, what's going to happen, I'm going to do that. I'm going to go ahead, log in. Now, for our purposes today, we're focusing on the mailing promotions portal. You're going to find that under mailing services. So I click on that. Now I have my pull down. You're going to drill down to where it says mailing promotions portal, and I'm going to click go to service. If it says get access, don't worry, click on it. Your local BSA, your business service admin will give you that access. Now, this is another very important screen. I'm going to fill this out. We've highlighted in red the lower right-hand corner. Whatever information you're using for your user ID, for your business customer gateway, make sure you put it in that field exactly. Why is that important? We're creating a link, technically, we're going to pull the covers off here. We're creating a link to salesforce.com, which is the background cloud platform that's handling the mailing promotions portal. This is a one-time process. Once the systems have clicked those, you're golden. So on the next screen, you're going to see that you get the pop-up saying, all right, you've successfully created that link. And then, unfortunately, you're going to get another one where it's going to say, oh, yeah, by the way, it could take up to 4 business days in order for this link to happen. Now, what we're finding is that for the most part, if you get those data points correctly, it can be the matter of hours. If it isn't, then a human being on the post office side needs to reach out and go back and forth. All right, and this is an example of that email that you're going to get saying, hey, congratulations, you're now into the mailing promotions portal. So now on the next slide, we're going to show you, this is kind of like a cooking show. We're going to pretend that we got all that information, we've logged back in, we've hit that, we've gone to the mailing promotions portal, but this time, instead of getting that one-time pop-up to link my account, I'm actually in the portal. First big button on the left is submit for an incentive. Click on that. Now you're going to get a pull down. These are all of the current incentives and promotions. And we didn't talk about this too much, but I'll just hit this here really fast. There is a structural difference and a legal difference between a promotion and an incentive. A promotion, like Chris had mentioned, you get that money instantly, and you can only do one at a time. Incentives, you can double dip. I can take the tactile sensory interactive promotion and earn credits for my incentive. So in this situation, we're going to go ahead and click on the marketing mail growth incentive. Go ahead and we're going to click next. It's going to ask us really quick, hey, is this your first time doing this promotion? If it is, or incentive, I'm sorry, new registration. If not, I'm going to click re-register. It's going to say, all right, agree to all those terms and conditions, and I'm sure you're going to read all 5,000 pages or just click next. And then from here, it's going to ask you to cough up your information. All right, this is the person that's going to be responsible for the incentive, and you're actually creating an SR. So anybody who's used to tickets, a service request, you're going to understand what's really going on here in the background. You fill out this form with all of your necessary contact information, and then when we hit submit, it's going to give us this pop-up that says, all right, you've submitted it. Here's the SR number. It's going to show up in your history, but it's not a bad idea to take a screenshot of this. That SR number is going to be the most important number through the whole process. All of the information is going to keep coming back to this one ticket. You're not done yet. You've put in the request. Now hit that review baseline button, and it's going to come to this next screen that's going to say, all right, might take a few seconds. It's pulling through all of the databases of the post office and it's going to come back. So late last night, I did this for myself and it said that for me, I have 97 crids, no judgment zone, please.
This is a safe place, Glenn. It's okay.
Which is crazy, right? I'm an MSP and my team created 97. I digress. But based on last year as an MSP, we mailed 110,000 pieces. If I agree, I can hit agree and hit next. The reality is I'm going to suggest that 99% of you are going to say disagree. And the reason why is that number is going to take a little while to figure out. So like the client I was working with yesterday, it came back with a dramatically different number in 12 thousands of crids. So by hitting disagree, I'm not like stopping the process. All I'm doing is putting this ticket into the queue for the post office to get back to me.
Let's take a beat here, Glenn. I want to give everyone a second to think. He's just given you a lot of information, walk you through each of the steps. Glenn, I think it might be helpful. We assume everybody knows what a crit is. I'd like you to define that in just a moment. Make sure everybody understands what a crit is. Just don't want to leave any stone unturned. But I want to know from the folks here in the chat. Go into the chat. Is this helpful to you? Give me a yes in the chat if Glenn's step-by-step walkthrough has been helpful. I want to see the yeses if this has been helpful to you. Give me a yes there in the chat. Vinny, good. Diane, Vivian, Tim, Claudia. All right, so keep those yeses coming in if this is helpful. I like the exclamation marks too. That's good. Glenn, what is a CRID?
A CRID is a customer registration ID. So basically, in my perfect world, I would love it if the post office could create an account number for each person that we do business with. That's a side project that we're working on at MTech, but I digress. In the short term, every location, physical location, basically it's tied to a street address. As a matter of fact, when you're in the business customer gateway and when you do a pull down in the upper right-hand corner, it actually says manage locations. It's basically a unique identifier for your location.
Got it. All right, folks. Thank you.
Different than the mailer ID, which is something we'll talk about it on another show.
Glenn, how does the USPS calculate or make adjustments and issue those postage credits for the MGI, the Mail Growth Incentive?
Yeah, so we talked about the dates before, right? So once you go ahead, we've agreed to the baseline. You go ahead, you start mailing. It's a simple math exercise. Here's your baseline number. Let's say it was 1 million pieces, or let's say it was only 250,000 because you're a growing company. That's not a problem. You don't have to have 1 million pieces to register. You just need to have 1 million pieces before you start earning credits, right? So let's say I'm a new enterprise. I had 0 for my baseline, no problem. As soon as I pass 1 million, now I'm eligible, and now I'm going to compare the two numbers. So let's say last year I mailed 2 million pieces. This year I mailed 3 million pieces. I'm going to get a credit based on the 1 million differential.
Yep. Is that clear, everyone? All right.
Keep in mind, it breaks into 2 categories too. There's a different incentive for first class than market mail.
Yep. Very clear. And can you do both, Glenn?
You definitely can do both.
Awesome. All right. So how does this work here, the postage credit approval process?
And we really just kind of walk that through. So you go into the portal, and this is really a summary of everything that we just did. You're going into the portal, and this is how you request the credits. My bad. So similar to what Chris had mentioned before, right? He said, all right, now I earned all of these credits, potentially. Now I need to claim them. Basically, there's this bucket out there. So I'm going to go back into the portal. Remember I said that SR number is important? You're going to go into that SR number, and on that screen allows me then to go ahead and submit the request. Once that request has been put in, it's going to be reviewed by the post office, and then there's emails that go back and forth to agree or disagree.
And how long does this process generally take in your experience?
It depends how clean the data is.
Okay.
Early on, like I said, safe zone. In January or so, we were still working out the details and it was taking a while.
Okay.
I had customers later in the cycle that it was literally just a few days.
And so then how do you apply these credits to your postage going forward?
Yeah, so when I'm claiming my credits, I'm actually assigning them I assign them to a group, and then I can then push it out to a particular mailing permit. And then once I can go ahead and put it into a permit. Matter of fact, Chris is going to go through some really good details here of when I'm actually giving my mail.dat, I'm actually putting in some codes there, and it's going to grab that money that is sitting in that bucket. Or basically, now I have that that gift card with cash on it. Now I'm going to actually go ahead and process those transactions.
All right, so I'm going to bring you up, Chris. Chris, why don't you just define mail.dat, just in case folks need an explanation of that. What is
Sure.
that?
Mail.dat is the metadata of the mailing, right? So this is the electronic representation of the physical mailing. So inside the mail.dat is all the information that the Postal Service needs to properly calculate postage so that they're able to make sure that they're taking out the right amount of postage. It also gives them a baseline for making sure that as mail is moving through their system, that it matches the discounts that you've claimed, and also that they can see the intelligent mail barcode that goes along with that to trigger events like the informed visibility data and informed delivery daily emails. But I want to touch on what we've been saying before. These credits can be in one of three states. They can be earned, okay, and the credits are earned, as Glenn explained, right? As you're mailing and you go above your threshold and you hit that million, now you start earning these credits. They go into sort of this bucket. Then they have to be applied. And that means that they're transferred out of this holding bucket into specific permit accounts. And there's some accounting reasons for that. It's like taking stuff from sales to revenue and so forth, but it moves it into the applied. Now it's in a permit. Now you need to spend those credits. You need to use the credits. And this is where it comes into play with the software. So if you're a mail service provider, you're most likely going to be the one on the front line that's going to be working with your customer to use those credits, right? And the credits, think of them at this particular stage, because we're at stage 3, where I'm going to use them. It's just like dollars, just like money, okay? And I can use those credits for the mailings, again, as long as the credits that I accumulate for marketing mail is spent on a marketing mailing. First class mail is spent on a first class mail, because you can't mix those mail classes. There's some laws around that. But I can use those credits just like cash. And in the case of the software, for example, bulk mailer business here, you can see the screenshot. Those incentive credits that have been earned can be used on promotions. Think about the effect that you have with that. By the way, for some of the smaller mail service providers that are in there that are saying, there's nothing in there's opportunity for me, Chris. No, not necessarily. So the mail owner may use these credits that they've accumulated on things like small targeted mailings, an A/B test, different things like that. You always want to be on the lookout to be able to help your customer use those credits for promotions. And again, if you're doing something with Mail Manager, you can go in and you'll see that there's drop-down boxes. This is why, again, and your software is going to vary depending on what you're working with. So please make sure you talk to your software provider to understand where it's available. But if you're using Mail Manager, for example, we have the promotions and the incentives in the same spot, because you can do those together, as Glenn was talking about. In fact, I highly encourage mail owners and mail service providers to look for ways to use the accumulated credits and spend those on promotions. That way you're going to maximize that. If you're using the pre-sort product, which is part of the Ignite solution, then it gets a little bit more involved here, and we've got some information that can help you understand the codes that go through the mail.dat. Bulk mailer and Mail Manager do that in the background for you, but the pre-sort product, part of Ignite, has a lot more control for you to be able to do. It's more extensible on some of the things it can do. This goes into what's called the component record, which is part of the mail.dat file set. I'll use that term. And you would go in and you put the particular codes. This is the 2-character code I'm using for the promotion. And then here's the 2-character incentive code that I'm using to pay for this. And then, as Glenn said, the money is taken out of that permit account and it's applied so that you're able to spend those accordingly.
Awesome. Thank you, Chris. Glenn, last week we heard a lot of questions about reporting on MGI usage, mail growth incentive usage. What can you tell us about the reporting that USPS makes available?
So right now, reporting is definitely in the works. The good news is that the post office at lightning speed rolled out this incentive. The bad news is the post office worked at lightning speed rolling out this incentive.
Yep.
On the next slide, I did show you the mail owner, and this is why I think it's this incentive more than any other requires a partnership between the MSP and the mail owner. We as MSPs have been so used to doing everything on behalf of our customers. The mail owner that does have access to the SR number, they'll be able to see some of these numbers. You as a mail service provider, we are suggesting that you basically keep an Excel spreadsheet of every time that you use a credit on behalf Not going to lie, there is some challenges if you're using a mail anywhere permit and you could have multiple people pulling out of the same. But going forward, working with Heather and the team, they are committed to this process for next year, and there will be additional deeper dive reports available to us. But right now, most of the data is available in their mail owners portal.
So let me ask you all here, did you get value out of this? Was this helpful for you? Please let me know in the chat. I want Glenn to know if this was helpful. We prepared all of these screens step by step for you in order to make sure that you all have the data and the information that you need. Kevin, this was helpful for you? Kevin, why was this helpful? Tell us why. Claudia says very helpful. Ian says yes. Anthony says yes. I'd like to know why it was helpful for you. It's always helpful for us to connect those dots. Now, Glenn, you've been doing this for customers, for multiple clients. I'd love for you we're all friends here. Let's go under the cone of friend NDA here. What have you learned in some of the situations working with those clients? You don't have to name names, but I'd love for you to share just some of the things that you've learned here, lessons learned with everyone that's gathered here today.
Yeah, that's a great question. And I think one of the first things that we learned, depending on the size of the organization, don't underestimate the amount of time that it's going to take for the process.
Okay.
And the reason why I say that is we were working with a large utility, and when it got to the terms and conditions, rightly, they were required to print those out and have their legal team review them. And the clock ran out. By the time they got through that process, the registration period closed, and they had to basically come back and say, all right, we'll do this next year.
Oof. How much money did they lose in that mistake?
We're not allowed to actually do the math,
Okay.
but I can tell you it was probably 6 digits.
Oh,
So with that, the other thing that's been interesting is we had another customer where it was an enterprise and there were multiple lines of business, and one group said, I got this. And they didn't do the old trust but verify. And so it came time to claim the credits. And now we're getting everybody in the room and we're saying, I'll just make up a name. Jim took care of that. All right, what's Jim's SR number? Oh, Jim's no longer with the company. And then we find out that Jim actually never did what he said he was going to do. So I would strongly suggest for the MSPs, I don't think it's unfair where if a client says, hey, I did it, have them show you the screenshot of the SR number.
okay.
And if they can't do that, potentially, I can tell you this, having that awkward conversation a year ago would have been a heck of a lot less awkward than the conversation we're having this year with their boss.
Yep. I see a good question here, and we're about to get into the Q&A, folks. We're about 3 minutes off from where we want to be, so not bad. Here's the question that came in. Chris, I'm going to go to you first, and then Glenn, I'd love to hear your perspective on this. Alan, thank you for the question. Alan says, this helps, talking about the walkthrough that you just did, but I still need assistance since it appears we're the only agency on the call. I think there were a few other agencies, Alan.
Yeah.
But he says it's going to be challenging for us to determine our client's 23-24 mail volume to take advantage of this discount. Chris, what would your guidance be to him?
My guidance is reach out to, so a couple of thoughts, right? So BCC software, Mindfire, we're very sensitive to this. I know not everybody has a postal affairs person in their company. They don't have a lot of bench strength to be able to go and do all of this, and it can be complicated, but they want to be involved in the process. So we are closely watching and talking to our customers to see, is this a service that maybe BCC can help you with? Many of you that are customers, and thank you for your business, know that our customer support is legendary, right? They're certified mail piece design professionals. They know mail, very responsive. My thoughts right away go to, as I'm watching these webinars, I'm watching the response, I'm hearing directly from customers, maybe there's an opportunity. Maybe there's an opportunity to work a little bit more closely with you. So if that's of interest, if it would be interesting that maybe there's some kind of a service that we can help you walk through the BCG with you, help you get registered for promotions, help you with your customers, I'd love to know that. I really would, because that's, at the end of the day, we don't want anybody left behind. We want everybody involved and engaged, regardless of what your size is. Mail service provider, mail owner, agency, we're all together in this. We're all stakeholders. So we want to know, how can we help? That's one of the taglines with BCC still holds today. How can we help?
Yeah. You know what, Suzanne, I'm going to roll the poll earlier than planned. We actually do have a poll to get a sense for everyone's feedback on that. And then, Glenn, I want to hear your feedback for Alan. But Suzanne, let's go ahead and roll that poll. What we want to know, folks, is if we were to do something like what Chris just described, would that be useful to you? Suzanne, can you go ahead and roll that poll? I'm sure you're looking for it right now. Am I seeing it? There we go. All right, Suze. All right, so here's the question for you. Following up with what Chris just said, which kind of turnkey services, if we could make this kind of help available to you, would be most useful to you? So please turn your attention to the screen. If you could get this kind of help, What would be most useful to you? Postage optimization consultation, understanding how to get the best rates, learning more about commingle and how that could help, getting things set up in the BCG, what we just did a second ago. Imagine if you had an expert like Glenn looking over your shoulder. The mail growth incentive setup and management, informed delivery campaign creation and tracking. We see that all the time with customers. We're helping them with informed delivery. I know Chris and BC and Mindfire are doing that for customers now. Omni-channel campaign integration. So the stuff that we do with Mindfire and BCC, if you need help with campaign creation, we want to know about that. And then if there are strategies around as a smaller mailer, if you've got a smaller mailer as an MSP, strategies around how to help them, let us know if that's of interest to you. And then if there's something that's not listed here, please take a moment to drop that in the chat. I'm going to leave this open for 5 more seconds. AJ and I talked about this morning, as did Chris, and so we're just gauging your interest in this if this was something that we offered. I'm going to give you a few more seconds here, and then Suzanne, let's go ahead and wrap it up. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. All right, Suzanne, let's go ahead and show this interesting, the results here. So you can also get a sense from your peers in terms of what's interesting. I see you nodding your head, AJ. So the mail growth incentive setup and management, interesting, 60%. Find that useful. What's second here? Postage optimization, commingle rates, et cetera, is 48%. And then set up in the BCG, 45. Chris, what's your read on that, what you're seeing here?
Yeah, it does match what I've been hearing directly from some customers. I've been sort of one of my goals is to get into plans, get more directly involved with customers. Certainly, I'm going to be all ears at the National Postal Forum again in 37 days in Nashville. This is exactly what we want to hear. We want to hear, how do we work together to make this happen? I'm hearing it verbally. It's good to see that it's matching what I'm seeing in the poll here.
All right, let's get into the questions here, folks. So what I want you to do is open up the Q&A button there. Thank you, Suzanne, for running that poll. I want you to open up the Q&A button there in Zoom, bottom of your toolbar, and look through the questions there if you haven't already. Upvote the ones that are most important to you. I'm going to be refreshing those. I don't want to see where in the world is Carmen Sandiego as the #1 question, guys. Come on, let's vote something else up. I think we found Carmen already, but that is funny. Thank you. Who did that? Matt, yeah. Go in there, take a look. If your question's not there, take it out of the Zoom chat and make sure you put it in a Q&A because that's where we're going to be taking the questions from. All right, so I'm going to refresh here and take a look at some of the top questions. We've got, as a mail service provider, how will I be able to get the discounts on behalf of my client who is the mail owner? Glenn?
Oh, that's a great question. And that's a loaded question too. One thing and let me answer Alan's question with this. One of the things that you can do is, first off, as we're going through the process, come alongside them, help them, do a screen share if you need to. When you get to that screen, you don't have to do all the math ahead of time because it's going to go out and calculate what it believes the baseline to be already. Here's what's really powerful though. When you choose disagree, what's going to happen when the post office responds to you, they're going to have an Excel spreadsheet of all of the crids and the volumes that they believe that made up that threshold. That gives you a running head start. So I think one of the key items that I could see as a mail service provider working with the mail owners is walk them through that process, be part of that process. And I think you'll find, first of all, you're going to discover a lot. And there's no doubt when you go to battle with someone, you're friends for life. So I think it's another great way of building a relationship. Did that answer the question?
Yeah, let us know. Let's see, Hannah, you asked that, and I saw others chimed in there. Alan, let us know if that answered your question. Chris, would you add anything to Glenn's answer there?
I think you touched on it, right? If you're a mail service provider, you are the one that is understanding the crids, mids, and stids, and all that kind of stuff, right? Take advantage of that. I always think of the mail service providers, you're kind of like the Sherpas, right? You're the ones that are carrying this on behalf of your customers. Take a look and provide some guidance to the customer, but keep in mind, you may be only doing part of their overall annual mail volume. And again, I want to go back to this. A lot of the smaller, mid-sized mailers are saying, hey, Chris, there's nothing in this for me on this incentive. I'd say not necessarily, right? You may only be doing a portion of the overall volume that mail owner is doing. But if you're the one that's reaching out to the customer and saying, hey, listen, if you haven't heard about this, you need to talk about it. I know what mail volume you're sending through my business. Let me help you. Let me help you try and make sure you get all the information together so that you're getting the discounts the growth incentives, the credits. I got to be careful, right? Yeah. These are credits that you get those credits for future mailing, right? And that's what we're looking to do.
Hey, Chris, jump on that. Oh, sorry.
Yeah. No, go ahead, Glenn.
To jump on that, what you just said there is really powerful because when you get to the assigning of the credits, even if you're a
Mhm.
smaller mailer, if you brought it to the table, how cool would that be if they assign that to your permit? You're going to naturally have a tie-in for future business.
Yeah,
Yeah, for
absolutely.
sure.
That again, that if when the mail owner has to apply the credits, you're going to be remembered. Oh yeah, that was the company that helped me understand this. I definitely
Yep.
want to do something with them.
I want to get to your idea here, Brett, in just a moment, but I'm looking through the Q&A here. The next most upvoted question was from Hannah. Hannah, thank you for being here. How are the credits distributed to a CRID owner with no permit?
So the credits, the credits are basically put into your bucket, but the only way they can be spent is they do need to get assigned to a permit. So if you don't want to work with a mail service provider and use their permit, then you need to open up your own permit. But what most of the clients I'm seeing, they already have a strong relationship with a particular mail service provider. It's as simple as when you're going through that claim process, our customers are reaching out to us for our important information, our finance number and our permit number. I then, as a mail service provider, you get an acknowledgement from the post office saying, hey, are you okay with this money coming into your account? Yes, I am. And then the process happens. So you don't necessarily have to have a permit in order to use those credits, but you do need to get them into a permit someday.
That's a good point. Let me follow up on that real quickly if I can, Glenn. So it is possible for a mail owner to have a CRID, right? You need to have a CRID, and the mail owner does not have a permit, right? So the mail owner's got this CRID. These pieces have been earned, but they have to be applied. And so I think a little bit to your point, when they have to move them into a permit to be spent, whose permit account would they go towards or distribute it to? Most likely the MSP that made them aware of the incentive, that helped them get registered for it, that reminded them that, hey, I can do these cool promotions that'll maximize your credits for spending. So that's where again, I'll go back to it. That's where I see the MSPs having a really important role in all of this.
Yep, yep. Suzanne, I'm going to give you a little heads up here. I want to roll the poll on challenges with MGI, so get that one ready here in just a moment. Folks, see in the chat that there's this common thread of for the service providers, your customers want you to do everything. And in the last webinar, we heard that a lot of you just don't have or feel you don't have the resources, the time, the people, the expertise to do that for some of your clients, which is why a moment ago we asked you if you would like some help with that. So just to be clear, that's why we're digging around there to see what questions you have. Suzanne, if you can roll the poll on the challenges with MGI, thank you. Take a look here. What is the biggest challenge? What are the biggest challenges you have with the USPS Mail Growth Incentive Program, folks? Take a look at your screen. Please go and answer that for us. So maybe it's understanding the eligibility requirements. I think Glenn did a great job walking us through that today. Maybe it's establishing the baseline volume, getting that number accurate. Again, Glenn said that there's a process for ensuring that you do that. Tracking and utilizing the earned credits. If you're a mail owner in here working with your mail service provider, is that the issue? And maybe you haven't participated yet, which is the last option there. So I'm going to leave that up for a few seconds here. I want to see what is the challenge that seems to be bubbling to the top here. It looks like the number one thing that I'm seeing so far here is establishing accurate baseline volumes. That's interesting. Close second to that is tracking and utilizing earned credit. So, Suzanne, let's leave it up for another 5 seconds. 4, 3, 2, and 1. Go ahead and close that up. Let's just share. That's good information for others to see here as well. Share the results there, Suzanne, and let's take a quick look. Everyone can see that there. So 43% haven't participated, and then it looks like 35% say that establishing the accurate baseline is the issue, followed by tracking and utilizing earned credits. Chris, what do you think about that?
Yeah, that makes sense. I've heard that on the baseline volume is one of the problems. And Glenn touched on that earlier too. If you've got 1,000 CRIDs sitting out there and stuff, it's hard to get your arms wrapped around it. Again, and here's where it's really important for the MSPs to help with it, because they're the ones that are choosing, again, back to that mail.dat. You have to enter in what's called the buy for information. This mailing was prepared by this mail service provider for this mail owner. And so things like the CRIDs and the MIDs come into play. We understand that in our vernacular. Mail owner doesn't. So that's where we need to help with that.
Glenn, question from Vernon here. How do you tie all the CRIDs together if you're a mail owner with lots of CRIDs that were potentially used? What's that process look like?
So you don't have to do anything. The post office does it all. The challenge, to be honest with you, is the assumptions that the post office has to make to combine them. So part of the process is, like I mentioned, and I'll be honest with you, when I did mine and it only said 97, that was exciting because the last time I checked, it was 127. And there were a bunch of crids that really didn't belong to me, because what the post office, they had to start somewhere. They were using even financial data, or if it had the word imagine in it, they assumed that it was the Imagine group, and whether not necessarily mine. So when I got that Excel spreadsheet, I could go through and say, all right, emailing back and forth to the post office saying, actually, these 4 crids belong to my customer who just so happened to put my name on it by mistake, because they thought when they were registering that they needed to put my information. So really it's a collaboration event between you and the post office. And here's another dirty little secret, Dave. One of the one of the reasons that's been a blessing for this MGI has been the fact that it's finally encouraging with a big carrot with the right people assignment, so that we now have data that's actionable.
Yeah, yeah, that's true. Chris, I see Brett's comment here. I want to throw this one at you. Brett, this is interesting. He says, because as an MSP, we might be several levels away from the true client. We hear that often here at Mindfire as well. Like we've got a client, the ad agency, then the printer, and we're doing the direct mail. But we are the ones using BC software, relying that the client has registered for various promotions, incentives tied to a specific CRID. What would be awesome is if BCC could recognize the CRID and help us click the incentive promotions the client has registered for earlier.
That's a great suggestion. At MTAC last week, and we discussed this in one of the user groups, user group 8 in particular, about how can the Postal Service make data available to us so that we can help give guidance to our customer, determine things so we don't have mistakes and so forth going forward. It's a bit of a challenge right now for the Postal Service because there's privacy issues that they have to be sensitive to. If you're an MSP and I log in and I can see all of the CRIDs and stuff or what's being mailed that isn't going through my plant, okay. Now the Postal Service is a little bit uncomfortable with that because they don't want you to see what effectively your competitor is doing. I think there's an opportunity though, and I'll say this, I think there's an opportunity for the Postal Service with all of the new API technologies that they're building, and they're doing a lot. There's a whole bunch. There's an app for that, right? All over the place at Postal Headquarters. I think there's an opportunity with an API that allows us maybe to push and pull data so that we can help our customers. But I don't have a direct answer for you on that. I don't have a solution yet. But this is part of the conversation and the purpose of today's webinar. Let's get these conversations going so that we can continue that dialogue with the Postal Service at MTech, at the PCC events, at the AIM events, at Nashville in 37 days at the National Postal Forum, so we can have those conversations. Sorry, Glenn. So we can continue to have those conversations because that's where it works. Your voice matters, and they are listening.
Absolutely. AJ, I want you to talk a little bit about this other initiative, this innovative investment that Sylvamo is making in this series, and also kind of this idea you have of enabling it to spread throughout the community. Folks, if you found value in today's event and you want to be able to lean into helping us and helping yourself and helping your customers learn more in order that we all benefit, AJ's idea here may help. AJ, what's this idea?
You mentioned community, and as I've been watching the chat, it's been interesting because I feel like we've already created this community. I see people answering other people's questions. So it's really cool. And honestly, the engagement in the chat and the engagement in the polls helps all of us brainstorm ideas to help here. So I've already jotted down a few ideas just today. But one thing that we want to offer is what we're calling just a partner program. And this is a way for you guys, the MSPs especially, and I know there's a lot on this call, to promote these webinars to your customers. So we do the work for you. What we'll do is create a custom link for you to send to your customers to attend these, to learn, and then we'll give you all the data. So we'll let you know who signed up using that link and what questions did they ask. So then we allow you to have a lot of engaged follow-ups with your customers and be very specific in those follow-ups based on the information that they give us. So we'll have another one soon. We don't know what the topic is yet, and I know we'll ask that question shortly, but if you don't know who your Sylvamo sales rep is, I'll send this out to everybody after the webinar, but it is a good way for you to promote this with your customers and then have some really good follow-up conversations.
Is that making sense, everyone? So basically, you're going to be able to take advantage, if I understand you correctly, AJ, the investment that Sylvamo has made and is making, the team that you have here. You've got Glenn, you've got Chris Lean, you've got an amazing group of people what does this take? Probably around 24 people to produce. No joke, right? There's a lot of people that put energy into this. Folks, you can tap into that. Anybody interested in that? Drop, what do we want to put? Webinar partner program there in the chat just to get a gauge for who's interested. Just drop the phrase webinar partner program there in the chat. We'll go back and parse that out and then follow up with you to see who might want to take advantage of this. WPP, there you go. That's easier. Let's do WPP. Thank you, Tim, for blazing the trail there. Tim's got WPP. Hannah says WPP. Now we got them pouring in. That was easier. WPP. All right, so Suzanne, let's do this before we hit the hour here. AJ mentioned that we do these events for you, the community, in order to bring you the information that you seek, the information, the education that you need. I'm going to ask Suzanne, go ahead and roll the poll now, Suzanne. We want to hear from all of you. We're going to parse through the chat, of course, but we also want to get some data here. What would you like to learn more about in a future session? This is helpful to AJ and the team at Silvamo and to my team to think through who are the experts we're going to bring you. Who are the thought leaders that we're going to engage to help you understand what's important to you? As an example, sustainability. How can you lean into sustainability initiatives to help you grow your business and, of course, meet environmental requirements? Maybe it's strategies around offsetting the postal rate increases that we're seeing to maximize your mailing budget. Maybe it's boosting response rates by merging physical and digital, so mail and digital to drive engagement and more ROI out of your campaigns. Maybe it's the impact AI is having on direct mail. That's a big one. What is AI doing to direct mail? Then it could be the government issues, understanding the regulations and maybe the tariffs and how they could potentially impact you, getting buy-in for your direct mail programs internally. I know it's sometimes hard to get the budget for direct mail in the face of digital, so maybe we can help you think through that. I think Chris mentioned this in the beginning. Louis DeJoy, Postmaster General, is transitioning out at some point. Maybe you want to talk about how that's going to impact us. Or it could be the upcoming catalog promotion you see there. And then lastly, for my mail service provider friends, how to move from just putting ink on paper. And I know I don't mean to diminish that, but moving from putting ink on paper to becoming a services provider that offers a whole range of marketing services. Maybe that's useful to you. If there's something else that we didn't mention, please let us know in the chat. All right, I'm going to leave it up for 5 more seconds, Suzanne. 4, 3, 2, 1. Interesting. All right, so look at that. AJ, take a look at this and tell me what you think. Ooh, there's a lot of data here I got to look through. So what do we got? AJ, it looks like the top 2 are strategies to offset postal rate increases and understanding upcoming government relations and regulations. What do you think, AJ?
Yeah, we are spending a lot of time right now understanding all the different government regulations, understanding the tariffs. I know it changes almost by the hour.
Yep.
So I think that one could be really interesting to take a deep dive into.
Yep. Interesting. Yeah, if there's something else that you think of, folks, please let us know. Thank you all for sticking around. I know that we still have a large number of you here in the room. I want to make sure that we're going to follow up with you. If you look at the screen here, Chris, if you can share this, the resource guide is going to be on its way to you. All of you who have stuck around with us, thank you, thank you. I'm going to try to get to as many questions as I can in the time that we have left, but if you need to leave, please make sure to drop a thank you there into the chat to let Chris and Glenn and AJ know that you are appreciative of their time and of this information here. And I have a little request. This is something that I like to do sometimes. I just dropped my cell phone number there in the chat. If you took a bunch of notes, I love seeing what you guys wrote down. I'm not looking for anything confidential, but would you take a picture of your notes on your phone, find my cell phone number there in the chat, and just text me a picture of your notes. It's always cool to see how you're absorbing this information. I like to see what you've underlined, any pictures that you drew, anything that came to your mind. I love seeing that information, and it's helpful to us, and it's always rewarding to see. So my cell phone number there is in the chat. Suzanne and Chris, if you can drop that in, because I see a lot of thank yous coming in here. I want to make sure people don't miss it. Linda, you're welcome. Bill, you're welcome. Steve England says, great job, everyone. Looking forward to sharing the recording within our organization. That's a good idea, Steve. Let's do that. Make sure you share that. Marie Clark. Hey, Marie. Good seeing you last week. Says, thank you all. Another great webinar. Renee says, see you, Chris, in 37 days. LOL. That's good. Awesome. Thank you, folks. I want to see there's a couple of good questions here, but Chris, I'm going to put you on the spot. What question did you see here in the chat that you think we should answer here?
I saw the last one here on this bundle breakage or in bundle strapping, just briefly on that, because they asked if we could just touch on that. The Postal Service has finally, we've been going back and forth on this for a long time with bundle breakage. They finally have decided to settle on the current rule change for that. They don't want strings or rubber bands. They're going to get rid of that. They've been mentioning the industry about that for a long time. If you are poly-wrapping bundles, then you only need the one strap around that. If you are not poly-wrapping, then you're going to need two straps that are perpendicular to each other to secure it. I know that's impactful to some mail service providers. I totally get it. But again, I'm not to defend the Postal Service, but I guess I'll just say this. Nobody wants bundles to break. Nobody does, right? The piece gets damaged, you don't get the right effect that you want. That's not a good thing. And it costs Postal Service money. So we've been battling this for a long time. This is the current situation that they're looking at. So please, the Postal Service has put some information out on this. Take a look at it so you can understand that with it. And then the other thing I was going to say is, again, keep in mind, we've got current promotions. The opportunity's there. Dave, you touched on that earlier. You are very likely already doing pieces that qualify. Take a look at that and be prepared for what's coming in 2026. The opportunities are there. Let's grab them. Let's make it happen. And let's move from being in the back seat, coasting on postage costs, and get in the driver's seat and start accelerating the attribution of mail.
There we go. Chris is testing out a new line, folks.
I'm trying a new line.
AJ, look through the chat, and I'm sure you've been looking at it as we've gone along here. So what stands out to you? Do you see anything that you think we should touch on from your point of view?
Yeah, I really just want to remind everybody about that sustainability add-on promotion. I put the instructions out there so you can make sure you follow all the steps. Glenn talked about how important that SR number is. So we've got the same for that pre-approval. Just make sure you are getting that additional 1% on anything you're sending now.
I love it. I'm getting texts already with pictures here. I know you can't see that too well there, but it's awesome, folks. Thank you for sending those pictures. Actually, this one I'm looking at is on Silvamo letterhead, so maybe that's a Silvamo insider. I don't know who you are, but thank you for texting me. I'm seeing the text come in. Kate, it's good to see you in text there. Thank you for that. I appreciate that. Glenn, as you've been looking through the chat here, what stands out to you that you think we still need to answer?
I think just encouraging, because I saw a number of people almost frustrated. They're an MSP and they haven't been able to break through to the mail owners, et cetera. I will say this, if last year, I'll be even more direct. Last year, there were people that basically did I don't have time for you. Now that we're going back to them saying, oh yeah, by the way, the post office gave out $550 billion, all of a sudden they are all ears. So I think just to kind of encourage you that we have a better story to tell this year than we did last year. Don't use past frustrations to guide you. Keep looking forward. The paradigm is changing. As postage rates goes up, Chris and I have had this conversation. There have been things that people were unwilling to try and do in the past that now it's the ROI is there to do it.
Absolutely. Thank you again, everybody, for being here with us. If we missed your question, don't hesitate to follow up with us. You have our contact information. Glenn, Chris, AJ, feel free to drop your details in there, your email, whatever is best for folks to follow up if they have a question for you. But rest assured, we will circle back with all of you. I want to thank you all for being here today. And again, AJ, thank you to you and Silvamo for putting this on. I know folks are very appreciative of this. AJ, thank you so much for what you're doing for the community. We really appreciate it. I think she's thankful as well. She's on mute. Yeah, that was an opportunity for you to say something, AJ. Awesome.
Oh, it's been great. I learn a ton every time we do these, and I hope that you guys do too.
Thank you all, and appreciate you all being here. We will follow up with the recording, with the slides. If there's anything else you need, we know that your time is the most valuable asset you have, and to have hundreds of you stay as long as you have really means a lot. We don't take it lightly. So thank you all for your time. AJ's email there in the chat. Chris can drop his in. You've got Glenn. I don't know, Glenn, did you drop yours in? Brenda Manos with USPS. Brenda, thank you so much for your time. She has been immensely helpful to this community and to us, this group here. Feel free to drop yours in as well, Brenda. We really appreciate you. Chris, there you go. Glenn, there we go. Glenn, thank you for participating. This is your first time. What did you think?
Amazing. Hopefully I did well enough where you'll invite me back.
Should we do a poll on that? Should we invite Glenn back, folks?
Yes.
All righty, AJ, I'll give you an opportunity to say the closing word, and then we'll let everybody go for today. AJ, over to you.
Yeah, no, thanks everyone. Thanks for the engagement, the community that we're creating here. I will send out all the resources, the recordings, the follow-ups, all the good information. So please don't hesitate to reach out to me, and I can get you connected if you have any questions that we can answer.
Awesome. All right, folks. Thank you, Alan. Thank you, Kendra, Vinny. I see a lot of you, Claudia, all here in the chat. Rhonda, Nick, Melissa, Matt Jensen, Casey. Thank you all for your time today. Have a wonderful rest of the day, and we will see you in how many days, Chris? How many
37 days till MPF.
All right, there we go. Thank you all for your time. Have a wonderful rest of the day, everyone. Bye-bye.